Hi everyone, I'm Luke Bagwell, and this is part 2 of the Programmer's Guide to Kismet. I'm a C16 software developer, and it is June 4th, 2011, and this tutorial was developed using the May 2011 build of the Unreal Development Kit. So in the last tutorial, we managed to develop a custom Kismet action that strictly deals 10 damage to the player when triggered, and a custom Kizmet event that prints a pre-specified message to the log when triggered. This is great, but if our it means that if our designers needed multiple types of messages printed or variable degrees of damage dealt, we would have to go in using this method of development. We would have to develop multiple objects that do pretty much the same thing, that just take different parameters. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make it so that our event can print any message that the designer wants to, and our action can deal any amount of damage to the player that our designer wants it to do. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to introduce the concept of variables that can be edited by the Unreal Development Kit editor. Typically, when you make a variable, you precede it with the var declaration, and then a type, and a variable name. And this is pretty similar to declaring any variable in any language except for this var declaration. The var declaration tells Unreal Script that this variable should not be visible in the Unreal editor. And so the way that that's obviously the exact opposite of what we want it to do. Because in this case, what we want to make is we want to make a variable called message to print that our LDs can edit in the editor and use to print any message that they want to the log. And so the way that we do this is we use a different form of different keyword before our declaration. Instead of just using the var keyword, we use the var open parentheses close parentheses keyword. And this may seem minor and like kind of weird syntax, but the open and close parentheses tell the Unreal Script compiler that we want this variable to be visible from the editor, and we want to be able to give it a value from the editor. And what this means is that inside of the properties section of our event in the Kizmet browser, our designers are going to see a variable called message to print, and they're going to be able to go in and actually access and change the value to suit their needs. And so now we can change it to, instead of just printing event activated every time, we can make it print message to print. And this will be really cool later on when we actually get into setting up events and actions in the Kizmet browser. So now we've modified our event to take any string that the designers want to take and to print it to the log. So now let's do the same thing with our action so that we can make it deal any amount of damage. So we're going to do just like we did in our event. We're going to precede it with the var open parentheses close parentheses variable. We're going to declare an int, and it's going to be the amount of damage that we want to deal to the player. And so now what you're thinking is, how do we access this variable in our do 10 damage method? And earlier in our tutorial I said that we could access actions properties through the dot operator. So what we're going to do is we're going to do action dot damage to deal. And so now what this means is that we can, like in our custom event, the level designers can set up a custom Kizmet secact do 10 damage action, and they can assign the amount of damage that they want to deal to that specific action. So we could have multiple copies, multiple instances of this action in our Kizmet browser, with all of them having different amounts of damage to deal. And so we're going to probably want to rename this file to be just secact do damage. So let's do that. And then we're going to want to go into this and change this parameter. And then we're also going to want to change the name of our file. So we're going to want to close this, and because in the Unreal script language, the name of the file has to match the class that it contains. And so now we've modified our action to deal any amount of damage that we want it to the player. And so let's begin to look at it in the Kismet browser. So we've opened up our Unreal Development Kit editor, and so now we need to go to the Kismet browser. And first we're going to add our custom Kismet actions. So we go to New Action, and if you remember, we had a category declared of My Custom Actions, and sure enough, here is our damage action. And there seems to be a bit of menu overlay, so that's going to make it a little bit difficult to read, but we've managed to add our custom action now. So let's add 2 of them. My custom actions, damage action. And now, earlier I had said that you could edit the amount of damage that our action dealt through the properties pane in the object browser. And so let's set this action to deal 10 damage like we had before, and we'll change this one to deal 30. And so you can see now that if we hooked objects up to each of these actions, we'd be able to deal different amounts of damage in different situations and trigger them in different situations. So it adds a lot of versatility to how we can use our actions. So now let's add our event through New Event, My Custom Events, and then there's the name of our event. And if you'll remember, we're going to do pretty much the same exact thing. Here's the variable we declared as message to print. If you look in our event, you can see it here, message to print. And so we're going to edit this one to say hello. And we'll add another one, and we can set it to say goodbye. And so we can maybe use this one when we enter the level, and this one when the player quits. And that way we're able to use one event for multiple purposes, just like we're able to use one action for multiple purposes. So, kind of in closing, Unreal Script can be used to develop custom Kismet events and actions that will suit pretty much any purpose or any need that your game might require. The Unreal Development Kit comes pre-baked with a multitude of actions and events that will be useful, but there's no way that the UDK can accommodate every need that your game might have. And setting up a custom event and custom Kismet action is a fairly simple, straightforward process that can give you a lot of versatility and can save your designers and yourself a great deal of work. So, in summary, Kismet's a very powerful tool, and Unreal Script can be used to make it even stronger and more powerful. Thank you for your time, and once again, I'm Luke Bagwell from Cohorts C16, and this has been the Programmer's Guide to Kizmet.